Last Sunday evening, Neil deGrasse Tyson's Cosmos series. You've been watching that? He's really doing a pretty good job reworking what Carl Sagan did back in the 70s, 80s. Well, he started off this series last Sunday talking about Halley's Comet. He was talking about how ancient people understood the sky as basically a calendar. Things happened with regularity in the sky. It told them when to plant crops, when to reap crops. It told them when to move to this area because animals would be living in that area, when to migrate somewhere else. And people really got shook up when something intruded into that calendar like a comet. And immediately they'd go to a dark place. We humans do that. I don't know why. We go to a dark place. Uh-oh, there's a comet. There's something odd in the sky, so you know what that means? Disease is coming. And if it's not disease, then there's an army coming. There's going to be war. And if it's not war from a coming army, then there's going to be civil war. And if it's not that, well then our ruler's going to die. And then there's going to be all kinds of strife. Always something bad. Until Halley correctly predicted 52 years, I think, after his death, the return of the comet that now bears his name. And we humans were freed of that superstition. They go to a dark place. So it's not unusual in this story that John has given us that the first thing they do when they see a blind man is go to a dark place. Who sinned? Did he sin, or was it his parents that caused this guy to be blind? What? You're responsible for your own blindness because you sinned? You're responsible for your child's blindness because you sinned? Do you hear how dark that is? And yet, we go there. We live there. And John is trying to tell us through this story that that old paradigm does not work in the light of the revelation of Christ. It changes now. Basically, what John's pointing out is a pattern. We human beings love patterns. We love to repeat those patterns. Even if they hurt, we'll repeat those patterns. I knew a woman, not in this parish, you be very clear, not in this parish, was married to a raving alcoholic. Extremely destructive to the family life, everything. And all of a sudden, this guy gets it in his head, I'm going to go to AA. I'm tired of living this way. I want to live. He straightens himself out, dries out, pulls that family together. You know what she did? She divorced him. And this time, she made sure that she married somebody that would stay drunk. She married a guy that owned a liquor store. So there we go. Got to stay in that pattern. And it happens with institutions too. That's the subtle criticism, or not so subtle criticism, that John's making of the greatest competitors. At the time that John wrote this, the Christian church was on the rise. The Jewish followers of Jesus, they'd been taken off the stage by the conquest of Jerusalem. So this is a lot later, and the biggest competitors were the Pharisees. But it's very instructive for us what he says about the Pharisees, because who's the Pharisees now? We are. Whenever the church bows down in obedience to stale dogma and doctrine and freezes the wonder of faith into the death of belief, then we're on the way to death. We are blind because we don't have the flexibility to recognize a new thing that's taking place in our midst. Oh no, we can't do that. That doesn't fit with our tradition. No, we can't do that. doesn't fit with our Scripture. We've been through that as a church in the issue of sexuality. Luckily, we bent. The Episcopal Church did. We were able to say, okay, Scripture, tradition, we have to listen to reason. We have to understand what it means to relate to another human being. And instead of being blind to the gay and lesbian person, we have to be able to see them as human beings and respond to them that way. It made a difference for us. It changed our church. And that's it. There's the crux. Change. See, that woman, she got a divorce because he changed. Her husband changed. And if he changes, looks at himself and says, I'm going to do a moral inventory. I'm going to look in here and see where my blind spots are so I can open my eyes and see. That's an invitation for her to change too. And all of a sudden, that old comfortable pattern of pain and hurt, it's gone. It's replaced by the terrifying fear of the unknown. If only she had had faith. Christ stands in front of me. Christ stands in front of you and says, go wash. But do I want to take that step? Do I really want to rid myself of the blind spots in my life? That's what the work of Lent's about. And if I open myself to the grace of God to do that, and God has revealed a work of grace in this world through me. And if you open yourself to the grace of God to do that, and God has given your life as an example of God's grace and power in the world.